This is Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
I'm the only lawyer ever to obtain a court ruling that a president of the United States committed a crime.
For truth. For competition.
As a young lawyer, I helped break up AT&T. That's why you have all your cell phones today.
For sovereignty. For the Republic.
I'm the guy who at Judicial Watch, which I founded, uncovered the Chinagate scandal. Millions of dollars going to the Clinton campaign, corrupting our political system.
For the privacy of citizens.
And I'm the only guy to have enjoined the National Security Agency from mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Tearing it up.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
Bringing it back.
We're going to take this country apart and put it back together again in the way envisioned by our founding fathers.
It's not just talk.
We're not just regurgitating news stories. Larry Klayman, Special Prosecutor, is making the news.
And now, here's Larry.
Welcome to this edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. I have Jason Goodman on the line, the CEO of CROWDSOURCETHETRUTH. And later we're going to have Dr. Jerome Corsi, who testified before our citizens' grand jury. Jason's on the line not just because he's intelligent, not because his network is crucial, because it does tell the truth, you know, unlike some of the pablum that you get on the cable networks. But Jason was there, and he actually videoed the grand jury proceedings, the citizen grand jury proceedings, about a week and a half ago, where we indicted none other than Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Jason also testified because he had assisted us in going through documentation that we got from Mueller's office showing grand jury leaks. Some of those leaks obviously came out with regard to Dr. Corsi. They're criminal. So consequently, Mueller was indicted for a number of different things. First of all, because he threatened Jerry Corsi with regard to testifying falsely against the President of the United States. If Corsi did not testify falsely, he was threatened with indictment. Then a sweetheart plea deal was offered where he would get no time for pleading to one count of perjury. He also violated grand jury secrecy rules, and government surveillance was done illegally with regard to our client Corsi. So Jason was there. He saw what went on. I'd like to actually ask him now to give his understanding of what we did. And of course, you can find the video of the citizens' grand juries, not just at freedomwatchusa.org, which will link to our YouTube, but also Jason's CROWDSOURCETHETRUTH and other different networks that he works with to get his word out. Jason, welcome to Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman.
Thanks, Larry. Great to be here.
Give us your thoughts. What did you observe about the process? And then I'll weigh in.
Well, I'll tell you, Larry, it was fascinating because obviously, I've never been involved in a grand jury before and had really little concept of what it was all about. It's one of these things that we hear about on the news, but you never really have any firsthand experience of seeing it in action or even understanding what's possible. And, there have been, I would say we've had 98 to 99% universally positive response to what we put out yesterday. There are some people who feel like this is a mock trial or this is not actually going to result in justice being served. And while that sometimes happens even in a legitimate federal court, I think this was an amazing learning experience for the public, an inspirational moment where people can see that, hey, wait a minute, we can do these things that take this power back. And even if all it does is shine a light on these subjects and allow someone like Dr. Jerome Corsi to give what I thought was extremely compelling witness testimony, it's not a 4-minute soundbite on Fox News or MSNBC. We listened to everything the doctor had to say, and I found it extremely compelling.
Jason, let me say this. I agree that it's an educational experience, but it depends on how far Freedom Watch and our client, Dr. Corsi, want to take it. And that's, of course, the issue here. Those people, those maybe 1% that are naysayers, they're the people that sit on their couch eating nachos. Right. They're probably way over 400 pounds. And they look they look at Hannity and they say, okay, Hannity's my savior. He's my Messiah. He says there's going to be justice. But you know what? Go back and think 30 years. I've been doing this almost as long. I got a finding that Hillary Clinton committed a crime, that Bill Clinton committed a crime when I was running Judicial Watch. But that was just a Pyrrhic victory because nobody's ever been held accountable at the highest level. It doesn't happen. So the American people need to take matters into their own peaceful and legal hands. We offer that opportunity with the citizens' grand jury. We will now go into a citizens' trial. We'll have a retired judge or someone of equal stature handle it. We'll have a petit jury. We'll try. I'm confident we'll get a conviction. When you hear Dr. Corsi later on in the show, you'll understand why we will get a conviction. We'll then have a sentence meted out, and we will seek to enforce it peacefully and legally. Citizens in this country, I'm not saying we're going to do this because we're not going to use force, but we do have a right of citizen's arrest. And this is the way it was handled in the Old West. This is Wyatt Earp. Okay, he was a marshal that went around enforcing the law. He often didn't have time to go to a magistrate judge or a judge or anything else. We didn't even have a Justice Department. And today, Jason, we don't have a Justice Department.
Yeah.
So it was more than an educational experience, but I do want the people to be educated by it because we have to take action. It is not enough. I am sick and tired. I mean, I can't watch anymore. I've said this before. Listening to people like Hannity out there promising things to boost his ratings, to boost advertising dollars on Fox News. And all it is reality TV. It's entertainment. Same thing on CNN, same on MSNBC for the left. It's reality TV. So the point is, we're going to reach a point where when we get a conviction, President Trump and that Justice Department doesn't want to enforce it, or some judge that we'll go to, then the American people are going to have to decide, should we enforce it? And we will, of course, always do it peacefully and legally. I always say that. But the reality is we have the power in our hands. And Justice Scalia in 1992, United States versus Williams, it's up on our websites at freedomwatchusa.org. I blasted it out by wire, PR Newswire yesterday. You can see the case and the citation. You can get the links to your website. You can get links to my website, Freedom Watch's website, and also to YouTube. The fact is, Scalia said the grand jury belongs to the American people. It doesn't belong to either branch of government, legislative, judicial, or executive. So the push comes to shove. When are the American people going to do something? It's not enough to sit on your couch eating nachos, okay, and watching Hannity. I'm sorry, I'm tired of it. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. I can't stand it anymore. And that's why you've got a 99% approval rate, because the American people are tired of that, these people that care about ethics and the rule of law, and they want to do it for themselves. And that's what happened in 1776. King George III took our criminal justice system back to England, and the colonialists said, the heck with you, they probably use stronger language. We're going to reinstitute our legal system, and we're going to do what we think is right under the law of man and the law of God. Human law, moral law, and that kind of thing. So, that's what I feel about it. We'll see where it goes. But, yes, it was an educational experience.
Well, not only that, Larry, it's, just for people who are listening, if they think just in their general life, people aren't sitting around handing out opportunities. You've got to go and take them. And as we observe over the past several years, certainly since Donald Trump has become president, there's a major problem in the U.S. Justice Department. So if we as citizens don't utilize the rights that we have, even though they may be difficult to put them into full effect as far as enforcing the indictment, if we don't do it, it definitely won't happen. It's like the lottery. You've got to be in it to win it. So
I'll give you another
taking this step.
Yeah, I'll give you another example. I'm not trying to pick on Hannity, although it's clear I don't like the guy. Every night we hear, there's no integrity in the media left anymore. It's this and it's that. Well, I'm tired of hearing that too. So we have a leftist media strike force at Freedom Watch, and we've brought cases with regard to libel and slander. We've got 2 on the burner right now with regard to Dr. Jerome Corsi. He's been defamed over Obama's birth certificate repeatedly. Laura Loomer by Facebook, called dangerous. We've got a hearing set for July 25th in Washington, D.C. People are invited to attend for Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who was called a felon by Chris Cuomo on CNN at the direction of Jeff Zucker, the CEO. And we've sued CNN, we've sued the Rolling Stone, we've sued Huffington Post for these smears. It's in front of Judge Royce Lamberth. He's a very fine judge. He'll give us a fair hearing. It's not going to be politicized. So these are the kinds of things we're doing. I have cases in my private capacity for Judge Roy Moore, who's been defamed over false allegations. of sexual abuse 40 years ago, Jason, 40 years ago. And, and the women who have been sued for the libel won't testify. They won't go under oath. So what does this tell you? But yet there's a smear out there that destroys people. So, yes, Freedom Watch and you tell the truth. Freedom Watch is doing it. And I'm tired of hearing the Kool-Aid on TV that somehow the messiah of Hannity and Fox News are going to come down and solve everything. Hannity claims credit for everything, okay, that happens. Now, if this is the president's advisor, we're in the deep you-know-what. So, this is the way I feel. And I guess I'm a little bit worked up because, I'm watching the Democrats debate in the last few days. Sure, you watched it, too. It's incredibly boring. It's radical left. I mean, it's Bolshevik. And
I think it's worse than that, Larry. It's pandering to the public. I mean, they're up there. People are afraid, who on the Democrat side are afraid to say anything negative about socialism. They think that people outside of the United States deserve resources and money and attention. What about the people who are dying on the streets of Los Angeles and New York and San Francisco? What about the people who are suffering oppression, economic oppression within the United States? We're dedicating all these resources to invite potentially dangerous, we've heard that there are people coming in as terrorists, adult age males who say they're 17 because they know they can take advantage of loopholes in our weak laws and take advantage of our country. We've got homeless people. We've got infirm children. We've got starving people dying on the streets of America. Why are we opening the borders to let more financially destitute people in when we can't even help the veterans and the whistleblowers and the people among us who are already Americans?
Well, you know what, Jason, we have just about 30 seconds left, but I'm sympathetic to these people that are coming in. But why isn't the Organization of American States, why aren't Latin Americans doing something about this? Why does it all fall on our shoulders? And Trump is right. I think we ought to get out of the Organization of American States, just like we should be out of the UN, because they don't do anything other than take our tax dollars. We'll be right back with Jerry Corsi, our great client, who stood up to Robert Mueller.
Dangerous.
You don't care. Use the court and the law.
Lethal.
This is bad.
Special Prosecutor
Very bad.
Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
I'm back with my friend, Dr. Jerome Corsi. Jason Goodman is with us still. He's co-hosting the show today. Jason was present during the Citizens Grand Jury. And I have to thank Jerry, and in fact, the entire country should be thanking him for standing up to Robert Mueller. Now, you can go to Crowdsource the Truth. You can go to freedomwatchusa.org, which will link to videos on YouTube and other networks of what we did, because we laid it out. The video is quite long. It's about 5 hours. We thank Jason because, frankly, he's a technological genius. You wouldn't believe the quality of this video. And it really tells everything. But I want to get Jerry's impressions of what happened to you with regard to Special Counsel Robert Mueller. And I want you to give us your impression about the Citizens Grand Jury and why so far in this world it's only Jerry Corsi who's actually been standing up to Mueller. I'm tired of tweets. I've said in the first segment, I'm tired of talk show hosts on cable news promising things that are going to happen, which are never going to happen from the government, the compromised government. I'm tired of public interest groups that just get documents and then ask the government, actually get down on their knees to ask the government to do things, which the government isn't going to do. Great for fundraising, great for getting on TV, but not great for justice. But yet there's one hero here, and it's Dr. Jerome Corsi, who puts his money where his mouth is and who took action. And in fact, in my view, if the president had done what Dr. Corsi had done, what Jerry did, he wouldn't be facing the onslaught that he's now going to be facing with Robert Mueller testifying in front of Congress on July 17th, smearing him, which will be the trigger for an impeachment investigation. Jerry, welcome to Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Jerry, give us your impressions. Why did you come forward? Why have you been sticking your neck out? What is your motivation to take Mueller on head on? And ironically, we indicted Mueller for the same thing that he indicted other people for in his Russian witch hunt investigation.
Well, Larry, the 40 hours I spent, it was really a voluntary interrogation. I got subpoenaed by Mueller to the grand jury on August 28th, 2018, last year, about a year ago. And we decided to cooperate. I mean, we went in with all the computers. I handed over my cell phone. I gave them my email accounts. Anything the FBI or the prosecutors wanted, I gave them. And then they proceeded to abuse me. They create always this lie, which is not a lie. First day's testimony, I forgot some emails. They allowed me to amend that testimony. But then they became abusive because they were confident I could link Julian Assange and WikiLeaks together with Roger Stone. And this was pivotal to their entire Russian collusion theory, that Roger Stone was in touch with Donald Trump, and the two of them had influenced WikiLeaks to release these emails stolen by the Russians, and they weren't stolen by the Russians. Special Counsel Mueller's team did not want to hear my evidence on that either. I never was in touch with Julian Assange. I didn't know Julian Assange, but in July and August 2016, when it was our 25th wedding anniversary, my wife and I and the family were in Italy. I had some time, and I figured out that Assange had Podesta's emails, which he was going to drop a few months later in October, and I told Roger Stone and others. So special counsel was convinced I had to have been in touch with Assange to come to that conclusion. I wasn't. I just figured it out myself, connecting the dots or deduction or however you want to. It's what I do as an investigative reporter, is I try to figure out what the puzzle looks like when you're seeing just a few pieces. At any rate, the special prosecutor wanted to then to indict me. They threw us out. They said the testimony I gave was worthless because I wouldn't lie to give them a name that didn't exist to connect me to Assange. And the prosecutors, Mueller's team, wanted me to plead guilty to my first day's memory mistake, not acknowledging they'd allowed me to amend that testimony. I thought it was completely fraudulent. I told them to take a hike. Said, if you want to put me in prison for the rest of my life, I'm 72 years old. They were threatening to charge me with conspiracy to obstruct justice and put me in prison for 25 years. I said, go ahead and take your shot at it. But I'm not going to lie in front of God and in front of a judge to a crime I didn't commit. I'm not going to put my hand up and swear to God that I committed this crime when I didn't. And Larry, my wife was pivotal in this. Monica, you think we could lose the house, you could spend a couple $1 million in a trial. In the end, you'd probably be convicted anyway and go to prison because it would be stacked against you with a jury in Washington that would hate me. And Monica woke up one morning and said, I'd rather spend the rest of my life visiting you in prison than have you not be the man I married. And when she said
Jared, we're going to pick this up on the other end of the break. We've got another large segment coming up. We'll be right back with Dr. Jerome Corsi.
And now, 4 words that make corrupt politicians make wee-wee in their little pants.
Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
Be the one who makes our country great again. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and donate.
Back with Dr. Jerome Corsi. Jerry, continue with this story because it's very compelling. And what, in fact, you were being coerced and threatened to do was to lie under oath. They were trying to suborn perjury. They wanted to implicate the president. They wanted to, in fact, wage, I don't call it a soft coup. It was a hard coup. And it still is continuing. Mueller's going to be testifying on July 17th. We're going to talk about that. You said, no, I'm not going to do this. And we wound up filing a civil lawsuit for violations of your constitutional rights against Mueller. We filed criminal complaints, and he backed off. I've often said it's like the club that you put on the steering wheel of your car in the days when we didn't have the technology we have today to get the thief to go steal somebody else's car. So Mueller went off and he indicted other people. I mean, he didn't indict you. He had to get his pound of flesh. He had to get his scalps to justify $35 million. At least that's what we know. It probably was more than that he spent on this thing, this ridiculous witch hunt. But let's continue with your story because it's a story of heroism, and you and I are a lot alike, and Jason's the same way. We will stick our neck out for the country. Okay, we're not here just to go on TV and to do fundraising. We're here to actually get a job done. So continue with your story.
Well, Larry, as I'm saying, is I refused to plead guilty to a crime I didn't commit, and it was, for me, really a matter of principle. I mean, my faith is very strong. I could not go before a judge, put my hand on a Bible, and swear to God, tell a lie that I had knowingly and willfully given the special counselor information on a material subject that I knew to be false with the intent to deceive them. That's what they'd have to prove at court. I forgot a few emails. They allowed me to amend the testimony. I thought this was fraudulent. And I think, Larry, I was the only one to tell Mueller to take a hike, and I think that really broke his back because, A, they couldn't get out of me a pivotal piece of information for their Russian collusion theory. Namely, I did not connect Roger Stone and Julian Assange. I didn't have anything to do with WikiLeaks, ever, including now. And I couldn't be part of the Russian collusion conspiracy because I figured out on my own that Assange had Podesta's emails, and I told Roger Stone and others in July 2016, August 2016, and I was right. But the point is, Larry, that Mueller and the prosecutors, I can tell you after spending 40 hours with these people, were vicious, hard partisan, and they'd already convicted Donald Trump of treason. The problem was they couldn't find a crime. It was the backwards way to do an investigation. They'd already got the guilty party. They were ready to hang him. But the problem was they couldn't find a crime because one did not exist. And that's the classic, I think, tragic, but almost like in a Greek tragedy. This is a failure of Mueller. Despite all the hype for years of MSNBC and NBC that he was going to find treason with Donald Trump as a Russian spy, it didn't happen. And
Jerry, yeah, go on.
One more thing, Larry. Just one more thing is that this, I think, because I resisted him, we filed a lawsuit. We devised this strategy, you, I, and together with David Gray, my other attorney, we figured out I was just going to say no. And that's what it took. But I'll tell you, I faced the prospect I was going to go to prison the rest of my life. We were going to be bankrupt, would destroy the family, and had my wife not accepted those consequences, I couldn't have resisted.
Well, it's important, Jerry, and that's why you are a hero. You stood up for the American people, not just yourself. Now, we're going into Mueller's testimony on July 17th in Washington, D.C. First, he said he didn't want to testify. He said he was going to stand by what was written in the report. I don't even think he knows what's in the report. When he got up there a few weeks ago to give his little statement, he couldn't even read what had been written for him. I mean, he sounded, more infirm than even Joe Biden, watching him on the debates this week. I mean, this guy's in really bad health. He can't get a word out. I think he probably has some kind of neurological problem. But Mueller gave the same impression, completely clueless. He was a partner at WilmerHale, which is a big Democrat law firm in Washington, D.C. Regrettably, Trump has put some judges from WilmerHale, believe it or not, on the federal bench in Washington, D.C. Wow. I'm dealing with them as we speak. People think that we got great judges out of Trump yet. No, we haven't. And look at what happened yesterday with regard to Chief Justice John Roberts, another decision with the left not allowing for simple question on the census as to whether you're a citizen. I mean, this guy obviously is being blackmailed by someone, perhaps the deep intelligence state. They've got something on him. And, of course, that's something that they had on you. That's part of our lawsuit. That's part of the citizens' grand jury. But I'm getting to this, is that when that questioning of Mueller occurs, Mark Meadows, who I have a line of communication with, I think he's a good guy. There are a couple good guys up there in Capitol Hill, and they're not in control. They're not the ones that call the shots, unfortunately. But he'll be able to ask questions about what happened to you. And I think that's going to be very important. And that really is Mueller's Achilles heel. Let him put up or shut up. Let him answer those questions. You were not indicted, so consequently, it's not like you're revealing grand jury information. It's revealing illegalities that occurred in the misuse of judicial and legal process against you to try to bludgeon you into taking the president down.
And Larry, Mueller could find nothing on me. They searched my tax records, probably going back 20 or 30 years. I mean, they brought my stepson in, 40 years old, to the grand jury because he had erased a hard drive, repurposed an old computer that my wife wanted to use in her business. I had a backup of that computer. Mueller was confident when he read one of Andrew's text messages that we were destroying evidence. Mueller didn't want the backup. If they found anything about me, Mueller, any little thing I'd done wrong in my entire 72 years on the planet, they would have indicted me for it. Mueller was at a dead end because he's corrupt. And his little speech, that 9-minute speech, which there was no purpose to give whatsoever, the report should speak for itself. And that report, if you read the Mueller report, and I've been reading it, is a politically biased report. It slants the evidence. It still continues to accuse, even though no charges could be brought on collusion and no case could be made that was convincing to Attorney General Barr on obstruction. So Mueller failed. And this political process, I think, is a coup d'etat, and I agree with you. Now, the last thing on this I want to say is that I hope Congressman Meadows does ask these questions, because my case, I think, is central. And the mainstream media doesn't want to cover it because I'm the guy who, with your help, Larry, and we blocked Mueller and we shut Mueller down. We were the stone wall that Mueller hit. And I think Rudy Giuliani knew it. He spoke about me many times on national television and what we had done to refuse to lie. And that broke Mueller's back. Mueller is persisting to want to get impeachment hearings, which I think will backfire on the Democrats. But the point is, if Attorney General Barr wants to clean up the Justice Department and restore the American people's confidence in our justice system, he's going to have to bring these coup d'etat criminals to trial. There's a long list of them, those fired out of the Department of Justice and the FBI, but I think it's going to extend all the way to Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama themselves.
Well, it clearly does, Jerry. And here's the thing, though. I mean, I hope that that's the case, too. But, again, I've been doing this for 30 years. You've been doing it for even longer. It's never happened. And what we have is mutual assured destruction. So, our next step with citizens' grand juries is to seek an indictment of James Comey, to seek an indictment of Rod Rosenstein, to seek an indictment of the intelligence czars of Obama, Clapper and Brennan. And then, of course, we'll get on to Obama and the Clintons themselves, among others, because I do not believe the government will do it. But I want the information out so we can use it in our citizens' grand juries, of which you remain a key witness, because now we're going to trial. So you're going to be a witness at the trial. You're going to testify live. And that is the point. But I do believe that Meadows has his heart in the right place. It's just he's not in control up there, but he can ask questions. And that's extremely important. I want to get to another issue here because, nearly every time you appeared on a leftist network like CNN or MSNBC and even Fox, Hannity took a little veiled shot at you with regard to being a birther when you were on there early on. This is something which needs to be addressed. And people are claiming that you claimed that Obama was born in Kenya, that makes you a racist. It makes me a racist because I brought lawsuits to try to uncover that, and election lawsuits saying that you have to present your birth certificate if you're going to run for president or any political office. And in fact, the Democrats are now demanding you have tax returns. So birth certificates are more public than tax returns. So I wanted to clear this up because I have a lawsuit sitting on my desk for you that's going to be filed in the next few days against the Washington Post that smeared you again, that claimed that you are a purveyor of falsity with regard to the place of Obama's birth. And, of course, the implication is that you're a racist, I'm a racist, and everybody that questioned it is a racist, notwithstanding the fact that there were white people that don't qualify to run for the president either, that they're not natural-born citizens. John McCain, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, they didn't qualify under the Constitution. So, let's clear this up right now before we bring this lawsuit that you never. All you said was the birth certificate was fraudulent, which it is. It's clearly fraudulent. Arpaio investigated that, and Mike Zullo, you did, everybody. 1961, just one example, African American on the birth certificate. Nobody was called African American at that time, particularly in Hawaii. So I want to get your take on this.
Well, Larry, I think it's absolutely imperative we file this lawsuit against the Washington Post as the first of many, because I've been slurred on this repeatedly. What I've maintained is we don't know where Obama was born because we don't have authentic, original, verified 1961 birth records for Obama. What Hawaii released that Obama produced to the public on April, I believe, 27, 2011, was a computer printout of his long-form birth certificate, which did not exist in 1961.
A PDF document, Doctor.
Right, and it was one that was easily being able to be shown. I found in Hawaii the authentic long-form birth certificate from which Obama's was forged. Yeah. And that was part of the forensic proof that Sheriff Arpaio and Mike Zulu brought forth. So my contention is that there's no reason why Hawaii continues to hide original birth certificate records or birth records of whatever kind they have on Obama, except I don't think they exist. After all this time, for sure, if they existed, Hawaii would have produced them.
Well, we know in
interesting.
Go on, Jason.
Larry, it's always interesting when there is or should be some very simple way to prove, like, why would Obama not just produce the piece of paper? Dr. Corsi raises an excellent point. The PDF document format wasn't invented until 1994, but the only quote-unquote evidence we've seen of this Hawaiian birth certificate is a digital document, a PDF document, and there are multiple points of forgery within that document. That's all the doctor has ever said, and I concur.
Jason, elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, the point is this. You go ahead, Jason. You go ahead.
The easiest way for people to see that the document was forged is this. A PDF document is the Adobe Portable Document format. It was created to allow the easy sharing and interaction between people with digital documents. You don't need any program on your computer to look at it, but as we all know, digital documents can be forged. Now, when you open that PDF document in a professional PDF creation tool, other tools from Adobe, you can see that it is not a photograph of a piece of paper. It is a constructed document with multiple layers of digital data. You cannot get that from a scan. And people who have attempted to debunk, in quotes, what Dr. Corsi and the Cold Case Posse team have revealed are not reproducing the actual steps. In other words, someone scanned a white piece of paper with black text on it and said, see, that separates out into layers. But the birth certificate that we've seen at whitehouse.gov is presented on anti-counterfeiting paper. The background has a color crosshatch. It's not a white sheet. You cannot get those results from an anti-counterfeit document. It is a
Jason, thank you for that. We're going to pick this up at a later date, and of course the lawsuit's going to reveal a lot of information. We'll be right back with the verdict.
Before he was a trial lawyer, he sliced him and diced him.
People used to ask me, Larry, what caused you to start Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch, given the powerful forces in this country that put you at risk?
In a meat packing plant.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
A very special prosecutor, Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I ask you to render the verdict. The verdict is guilty as charged. Mueller clearly will be convicted in a court of law. Now, we are continuing with our citizens' grand juries. We're going to seek indictments of Comey, Rosenstein, Clapper, Brennan, McCabe, the Lovebirds, Bruce Orr, and, of course, the Obamas and the Clintons. We're just beginning. We're going to be coming to your hometown at some point. And I want the American people to understand, as Jason said, yes, it's educational, but yes, we have the right to actually enforce the sentences. Now, when we get to that point, we'll see if a public official will do it, including the President of the United States. If not, then the American people are going to decide how they have to do it peacefully and legally. Because if we don't take back our justice system, then we have nothing in this country. And again, It's not enough to talk about it. It's not enough to say there's a dual system of justice. It's not enough to go on TV every day and give a 15-minute monologue that says the same thing like Hannity does on Fox. We have to do it ourselves, and that's the moral to this story. Now, in subsequent citizens' grand juries, I'm going to be joined by Congressman Bob Barr. We'll be dual prosecutors on this. Bob, as you might remember, teamed up with me. I teamed up with him in impeaching Bill Clinton back in the 1990s. Bob is a former U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Georgia. He's a former congressman. He's the one person up there that I could ever trust and rely on. And I can tell you, I've been up on Capitol Hill a lot in the last many years. I've given up. I mean, there's no point. Why do you want to talk to these people, including one of Jason's favorites, Devin Nunes, who's full of a lot of hot air, full of a lot of hot air, hires lawyers of very questionable whatever, and is promoting stuff that basically raises money for his reelection and for his own self-aggrandizement. But Meadows, I do believe, is an honest guy. I do believe he's from North Carolina, by the way. And Jim Jordan, I think he's an honest guy, but they just can't get it done because the Republicans. Allies. Well, they threw away the House of Representatives, but even when they had it, who was the Speaker of the House? Paul Ryan. Now you have this half-wit, Kevin McCarthy. I mean, he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. He's a pretty boy. That's all he is. He's the equivalent of Adam Swalwell, of the Democrats, the dumbest white guy in Congress.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Eric, yeah. I'm sorry, Adam, whatever he is. I mean, do you hear him last night on the debate?
Yeah, he's a disaster. Washington. I want to hear about his time with Imran Awan. He's not talking about that.
No, he was talking about changing diapers, that the odor was just as bad as Washington, D.C. Maybe he's probably changing his own diaper. That's the thing. But here's the thing, Jason. We need the support of the people to continue what we're doing. I want you to identify Crowdsource the Truth, how they can support you. I want people to go to freedomwatchusa.org, sign up for our Justice League, join our Citizens Army, watch the videos of what we did in the Citizens Grand Jury, because this is just beginning. And, Jason, I thank you, because without you, the American people could not see what was going on. Clearly, you couldn't get one of these other cable networks to do it. They don't have the guts to do it. You did. So tell people where they can reach you, how they can help crowdsource the truth.
Absolutely. And thank you for allowing me to be involved. It was an honor and a pleasure. People can best support Crowdsource the Truth by becoming sponsors on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And that's not a donation, Larry. People are sponsoring the program. When they do that, they're going to get access to a lot of exclusive content. And we've seen this past week, Project Veritas and James O'Keefe have revealed that YouTube, Google, their executives, they're controlling what people get to see. YouTube is not free. You're paying for it with your freedom to choose what you get to see and not see. So when people subscribe to Crowdsource the Truth on patreon.com or Subscribestar, they're securing their own future and the freedom of the press.
In addition to that, go to freedomwatchusa.org and contribute to Corsi Legal Defense Fund. CorsiLegalDefenseFund.com. That helps offset some of the costs with regard to cases against Robert Mueller. So this is crucial, Jason, that the American people stand up for themselves. This is what we try to do at Freedom Watch. You're doing it at Crowdsource. And we'll be back next week with another edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Until then, God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. And God save America. And that's what we're trying to do right now.
Get to Old Navy's Saturday only. Women's and girls' tanks are on sale for just $2. That's right, just $2. No better tanks, no better price. Just $2. One day only, Saturday only at Old Navy. Valid 6/29, select styles only. In-store only, limit 5. Store only, limit 5. Store only.